Mic check 1, 2. You good? Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Issue Live. I am your host. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I know every time we take the smallest teensy-weensy bit of a fucking break, the world just keeps caving in. But before we get into the madness of what we are actually here to talk about today, the big breaking news that I'm sure all you guys are all aware of that just happened, I think, was it Friday? Was that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has tested positive for the coronavirus, or as he would say, the China plague. The China plague got him, caught him slipping, talking all that shit, and the China plague. What you call the China plague, the coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, got your ass. Now, you know, I know a lot of people have came out and have given their well wishes, and, you know, I don't wish no ill will on the guy. But, you know, it is what it is, in your own words. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, the CIA did this to him. I ain't gonna lie, that was my first reaction when I heard it. I was like, the CIA caught him slipping. The CIA knew that white girl's gonna be on that plane. They said, she's vulnerable. Send her right on in there. She got everybody fucking sick. He's sick. Kellyanne Conway sick. Fucking what's the fat dude from New Jersey? He ran for president too. The fat boy. Chris Christie, he tested positive. Trump's campaign manager tested positive. He spread that shit everywhere. And if I was to guess, it happened sometime after the debate. Like I said, the CIA got to him. It had to be. That's the only way I could think of. They got to him. They knew he's lazy. He don't take the shit serious. So the CIA got to his ass. I'm just kidding. I don't know this for a fact. I just think it's true. But But moving into the real reason why you guys all joined today and why we why we went live today, what I wanted to talk about was to give you guys a full breakdown of last Tuesday's presidential debate, which was a shit show. Come on, be serious. I mean, Jesus, all right? I know I joke around a lot. There we go. I know I joke around a lot, but guys, come on. So, before we get into all the topics and I give a whole general breakdown of everything that would happen, I put together a nice little highlight video for you guys. So sit back, watch this. It's a good little length video. So sit back and enjoy this little highlight video that I put together for you guys.
So don't tell me about this.
I'm happy to talk about this.
And if you were here, it wouldn't be 200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You didn't want me to ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
all right, gentlemen,
Europe, which was heavily infected. You would have been much later, Joe.
Mr. President,
much later.
Mr. President.
You're talking about 2 million people.
You're not President as a moderator.
Because why is it on the ballot? It's not on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the court.
I don't think so.
In the court. Well,
there's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
and
just
you don't know her view on
Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
Obamacare.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris, that was the worst part of Obamacare.
Let me ask
well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
And
we will protect people.
I'm the moderator of this debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer your question.
There's far left on the manifesto, we call it. And that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
are you saying
I'm not going to listen to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you, buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to do is
Tuesday. You got very lucky.
Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure, because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is,
listen, you agreed with Bernie Sanders to the
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto. Number one.
Please let him speak, Mr.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
absolutely agreed
folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
They call it
Do you have any idea?
socialized medicine.
Mr. President.
I tell you what, he is not for. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
You're going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question is
Supreme Court justice, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
Maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same
That was
man.
said sarcastically, you know that. That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal.
So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with.
Because nobody will show up.
People with.
That's true. Nobody shows up.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would take a
guy,
miracle to bring back. Hey, let me just say to you.
No. Mr. President.
$3.5 million, Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he deserve $3.5 million from Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. What you need, you, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
All right, that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No, the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion.
He just would not
not true.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen. I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So, no, you've been talking back and forth.
You made a statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
Sir,
I would love to end it.
You know, if you want to switch seats,
we could very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd send in the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
No, we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
When a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in your administration tells you the truth.
Oh, the laugh is so bad because that's literally the future of our country. Arguing, I ain't gonna lie, that's an argument in the barbershop. Like how an argument that's an argument in the barbershop, like between two niggas. That's how it happens.
That's embarrassing.
It's super embarrassing, and I'm not gonna lie, I was super entertained, I have to say, but in the worst way possible. Because again, that's the future of this fucking country. It's between those two motherfuckers. Fucking Donald Trump and Joe fucking Biden. But, you know, it is my job to do so. So let's actually go through the debate itself, the topics, and break it on down. So the first topic, before we get into the video, the first topic that they had was about healthcare. And in this first video I want to show you, I want to give you a window into exactly the person Joe Biden and the policy that he's gonna enact. Because this is basically Joe Biden bragging about how he's not gonna give you healthcare.
Right. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won, were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said, and it's not what your party has said.
That is simply
your party
a lie.
Doesn't say it. Your party wants to go socialist medicine.
My party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
Now, I am
and
the
they're going to dominate
party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not
Democratic Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal.
He says it right there. Joe Biden has already came out to say that if Medicare for All was to hit his office or to hit his desk, he would immediately veto it. In the middle of a pandemic, Joe Biden is not going to offer Medicare for all. He's letting you know that right now, right then and there. And before that, Donald Trump was talking about excuse me, about his plan. And you know, when Donald Trump first got in office, the big thing was that he was going to provide everybody health care. He immediately went to get rid of Obamacare, and when they did that, they had nothing prepared on their side to put in its place. So, you know, healthcare is also a super weak point when it comes to Donald Trump as well. So I don't want to just shine the light on Joe Biden as if he's the only one that's terrible on it. You know, Donald Trump is very terrible on Medicare for all as well. Neither one of them are going to offer you Medicare, healthcare, especially while we're in the midst of a pandemic. You know, you would think that maybe with Donald Trump actually catching the actual virus, but he's not going to see it that way. He's going to say he went to the hospital. He went to the hospital, got the best treatment. He'll be out in a couple of days, and it's going to be like it never happened. So when it comes to healthcare, I just want you to know neither one of them are going to be there for you. But the second topic that they went over in this debate that I wanted to get to you guys was on economic assistance. So let's see what they talked about in terms of economic assistance during this debate.
We didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far more people.
And,
you would have been.
And by the way,
your own,
his own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine.
Schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide them plastic.
Tell that to Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi and Schumer.
By the way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan.
No,
he won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the Senate. And he sits on his golf course and, well, I mean, literally, think about it.
Lies. The Democratic Party was happy to fucking leave town without giving anybody anything, without forcing a vote, without actually realistically coming to the table to negotiate with the Republicans. Now, I'm not saying that to suggest that the Republicans are trying to do anything as well, because the Republicans are absolutely not. Now, all of a sudden, all they care about is the fucking deficit after they just gave $4 trillion away to the top 1%. And now, all of a sudden, they're worried about the fucking deficit. So, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, that snail-looking motherfucker, what's his fucking name? Mitch McConnell, that snail-looking motherfucker Mitch McConnell, neither one of them are trying to provide economic aid to small businesses that are failing at a astronomical record-breaking rate. I think 1 in 4 small businesses are shutting down, something like that. It's fucking crazy. You have 26 million people currently getting unemployment, and the Democrats and the Republicans in Washington are nowhere near a deal when it comes to either expanding unemployment benefits, a stimulus check that went out, none of it. PPE for small businesses, nothing. Now the Democrats have drawn the hard $2.2 or $2.4 trillion line, which is a lot, I understand, but I mean, that's the line that Nancy Pelosi and them have drawn. And if the Republicans aren't willing to come to that, which Nancy knows they're not going to, but if the Republicans aren't willing to come to that number, then the Democrats aren't going to negotiate. Which is crazy that now, you know, when the first round of stimulus checks and unemployment went across, the Democrats didn't draw any hard lines anywhere. They let the Republicans go in there and make it however they wanted to make it. They gave the $4 trillion to the top 1%, and that was the end of it. Democrats did not draw any red lines. They all voted for it because they didn't want to seem like the ones that was holding up money to the American people. But this time, when they have the least amount of power, but the most when it comes to holding up votes and actually getting something done when it comes to negotiating and getting some more out there, now all of a sudden they have these hard red lines. Now all of a sudden they have these hard red lines. And I don't see Joe Biden, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but I don't see Joe Biden leading the discussion when it comes to economic assistance at all. He's not on MSNBC, CNN. He's not out there demanding that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck force the Republicans to come to Washington and negotiate. He's not doing any of that. And Donald Trump isn't forcing the Republicans to go over to Washington and sit down and actually really work and not fucking leave until they work something out, because people are suffering. That eviction moratorium is gonna end soon. And I promise you, there are people right now who are like 6 months behind on rent. You think they're gonna be able to make that shit up by the time this shit ends? You are going to have a massive, massive homelessness problem by the end of this year if you do not do something. Excuse me for getting angry. But it makes me fucking sick when I hear fucking Joe Biden talk about how many of you have lost a loved one who's sitting around the dining room table and your loved one's missing because they died. No, fuck you, Joe. Fuck you. All right?
I was about to ask you about that too. How's that? Because I read something that said that when Joe Biden looked directly at the camera, it felt like they were winning the debate because he was connecting with the American people.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, do you feel like he was connecting with you at those,
no.
those moments?
No. He's everybody likes to point out Donald Trump as a liar, which he absolutely is, but Joe Biden is just as big as one. He's just as big as a fucking liar. Joe Biden don't give a fuck about you. Joe Biden ain't out there leading the talks and what the people. Joe, throw a number out there, Joe. What do you think the people like? Nothing. Have you heard Joe Biden talk about a number that the people should be getting? Have you heard? Has he leading the way? Is he demanding that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck get a fucking deal done? He's not doing any of it. You know, and so when he sits there and looks into the camera and says, "You've lost the loved ones," and it's like, fuck you, bro. Fuck you. You don't fucking care. You do not fucking care. And Donald Trump is the same way. He can easily pressure those Republicans, Mitch McConnell, and tell them, "Hey, motherfucker, you don't get shit done. All your constituents and the people, because all you guys are up for an election for Chuck, what the fuck is his name? Mitch McConnell, all these guys are up for re-election right now. And if Donald Trump could easily put the pressure on them to make sure that they get something done, or they'll allow somebody to primary him and support somebody against him to get him bounced out, Donald Trump could easily do. That's what the president is supposed to do when it comes to Congress. He's supposed to put pressure on his constituents to get primaried if they don't go along with what he tells them to do. And Donald Trump could easily tell Mitch McConnell, "I don't give a fuck. Lindsey Graham, all you fucking old dinosaurs." Donald Trump could easily go out there and tell him, "Hey, you better get something done or I'm going to make sure you lose your seat." He could easily do it. And he's not. No matter how much of a populist Donald Trump wants to pretend to be, he's not doing it, you know? But again, Joe Biden isn't going to be that fucking guy either, you know? I guarantee you. And that's what just, it pisses me off when I hear him. Fuck you, Joe. Fuck you. Moving right along to our next, the next topic of discussion, which I also think is a very weak point for Donald Trump, but, excuse me, isn't going to be, I think Joe Biden would be well off to press Donald Trump on this issue because he is really bad about it, and that is climate. So let's see how the climate discussion went down during this debate.
Have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very exciting for a lot of people.
You believe that science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars and trucks?
Well, not really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by $3,500.
In the case of California, they've simply ignored.
No, but you would take a lot of cars off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now,
What?
By the way, we're going to see how.
I don't. Again, this is one of Trump's weakest policies, weakest stance. His climate, something very easily you can attack him on. Again, in that video when he's talking about the cars and the emission standards and what he's relaxed and what I really genuinely don't know what the fuck he's even talking about. I tried to. I put this video here so you could see his explanation on what he wants to do for climate, which is who the fuck knows. Mike Wallace didn't do a very good job in posing that question. But at the same time, you know, this is something that I think needs to be done and the Democrats should push, is that, you know, climate change is a pollution problem at its core. You know what I mean? The problem of climate change is caused by pollution. And if you say that the pollution that we, you know, all the pollution that we have around the planet is a cause that needs to be reckoned with, that's a much easier, it's a much easier way to get people on board to your cause. Because again, climate change is a pollution problem at its core. And I don't expect either one of these motherfuckers to understand that. But it is one of it is Trump's weakest policies. And the way the motherfucker talks about forest management, like he talks about forest management like it's a fucking golf course. Like he's just gonna go out, like you're gonna get forest rangers to clean up trees and rake leaves and shit like that. It's a fucking forest, Donald. What are you talking about? All right.
Not giving you answers. He's just giving you descriptions.
Yeah, like that doesn't even fucking make sense. It's not a fucking golf course, Donald. It's a forest, you stupid motherfucker. But at the same time, and again, I don't want to let Joe Biden off the hook either. You know, there's something called the Green New Deal, which the Green Party has proposed. It's a very comprehensive, very expensive plan that that wants to cut carbon emissions down and move us into the future of energy in this country. And listen to Joe Biden talk about the Green New Deal.
His final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental changes will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you support the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support?
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
Oh, you don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I support
that means you
the
just lost the radical left.
I support the Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment.
I don't know if you guys caught that, but he literally said the Green New Deal will pay for itself. And then Mike Wallace asked him, so you support the Green New Deal? He said, no, I support the Biden plan. What the fuck is that? I don't know who else caught that. Maybe one more time, just for you guys, pay attention. He literally says the Green New Deal pays for itself, which in a lot of ways it absolutely does. It's a very expensive plan. Yes, it is. It's going to cost a lot of fucking money. But what you're getting in return, it should pay for itself, for the most part at least.
His final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental changes will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you support the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support?
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
Don't. Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I support
that means you just lost the radical left.
I support the Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment.
This is what we have to look forward to. America. Bad and worse. But we still have, believe it or not, more to go over. So this part is when basically these two calling out each other for each other's corruption. And I'll let you be the judge which one you feel like is the worst. So let's run the video.
And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
You've asked your question, let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really?
Totally,
Mr. President,
Mr.
President, please.
Totally discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
he got $3.5 million.
It is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr. President, it's an open discussion, please.
Now, it's a fact.
Well, you have raised an issue. Let the Vice President answer.
Discredited.
Did Burisma pay him $183,000 a month? With no experience in energy?
Mr. President,
with no my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
Mr. President, let him answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
the media?
By everybody. Well, by the media, by our allies, by the World Bank, by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even the people who testified under oth.
So let me ask you this.
No, go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to you.
People under.
He got $3.5 million from Moscow.
He testified under oath, and his administration said, "I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd
honorably."
like to know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list of the people who testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do a good job. I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made
son,
a fortune.
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like
My son. Your son is a corrupt piece of shit, just like you, Joe Biden. First of all, you are lying out of your fucking teeth saying that your son didn't take $3 million from the fucking wife of the former mayor of Moscow. That is absolutely true, Joe Biden. Absolutely true. It's also absolutely true that he was making close to $80,000 a month sitting on the board of an energy company he knew nothing about. It is also absolutely true you, while sitting vice president, helped facilitate a $1 billion loan to this energy company that your son just so happened to be sitting on the board of. It is also 100% true that your son massively enriched himself while you were sitting vice president and in charge of spearheading the relationship between the United States and the very country your son was sitting on the board of an energy company he knows absolutely nothing a fucking about. Nothing about. So knock it off, Joe Biden. Knock it off. People like to think that, and the bad part about this whole, the corruption, right, is that everything that, what Joe Biden keeps saying is not true. What he's saying is not true is that his son did anything wrong. Well, technically, yeah, your son didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything illegal, because that's not what corruption is. The corruption in this country isn't the things that are illegal. It's the things that it's just everyday fucking thing. Well, I mean, people sit on boards. Hey. They sit on boards. So what? You were sitting vice president in charge of relationships in Ukraine at that time. So what? Your son makes all these trades off of your name and massively enriches himself while you're sitting vice president. And your brother, by the way, which is another story nobody talks about, how Joe Biden's brother also massively enriched himself. So Joe Biden is absolutely lying when he says that his son did absolutely nothing wrong. Well, I mean, I guess you can't say he's lying, because, I mean, that's just the way things are done in this town. People sit on boards. People make money. Hey, we're making money. That's just what they do in Washington. Getting the Trump side of corruption, let's run the clip.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator, and
You're
by
the
way,
worst president America
there.
has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including.
Gentlemen.
He literally said the quiet part out loud right there. When he asked him why he didn't change the tax laws over the years while you were vice president or a senator, Joe Biden literally said, because you weren't president. Now, it is disgusting. Don't get me wrong. It's very disgusting that Trump paid $750 in federal taxes. But again, Joe Biden had plenty of fucking time while he was a senator, vice president, or all 47 fucking years he was in politics to change these tax laws. But now all of a sudden he has a big problem with it. Now all of a sudden he's gonna cut when these are all the tax. He voted for all these tax reforms that allow somebody like Donald Trump to only pay $750 in federal taxes. Again, I understand people don't like Donald Trump. I totally get it. But you need to understand what you're getting in exchange is another pathological liar who's part of the very swamp that has brought this country to where we're at today. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They're absolutely both part of it. They're both a part of it. And the idea that one is more corrupt than the other, I disagree. I 100% disagree. The big problem that I think that people have with Trump is that he just does it out in the open. You know, people like their corruption underneath under the rug. They like it when their son is the one sitting on energy boards massively enriching themselves. It gets swept under the rug. It's not so loud and in your face. It's the veil. They haven't pulled the veil back on it. And that's the bigger, I really honestly think that's the biggest problem that the establishment has, especially the establishment Democrats that they have with somebody like Donald Trump, is he pulls that veil back and he shows you how corruption in this town absolutely works. Not only is he part of it, he's going to expose it as well. He's been exposing it. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. This isn't somebody I would vote for. Neither is Joe Biden. Sorry, neither is Joe Biden. And that brings me to our last part of the show today, which is which is both of their major shortcomings. And this is for me the Joe Biden's biggest shortcoming, which to me is absolutely unforgivable.
Should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
You did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement.
I'm sorry, you guys, but he's absolutely right. For me, Joe's crime bill will always be a deal breaker. Trump is absolutely right when he says that the people will never forget, because I sure haven't. Joe's crime bill is something that has directly hit home for me, because that is something that has directly hurt me and my family, and is a burden that my generation of black men and women has to shoulder. I'm part of the fatherless generation, the single mother generation. Even the stigma of black men not being fathers. That burden was put on my shoulders and other people that look like me. That was put on our shoulders because of Joe Biden. And that's not something that I've forgotten about. And I'm sorry, I never will. I never will. That is always, to me, going to be Joe's biggest shortcomings. Something that he's defended to this day. To this day. Has still defended and still thinks he's part of the reason he exploded the cop population by lowering the standards. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden implemented the 94 crime bill, and Kamala Harris enforced it. These are the two people. And you want me to go out there and tell people to vote for him, or for me to think that he's somehow going to be something better? Like, listen, Donald Trump is the person who's going to say racist shit, and Joe Biden is the person who's going to implement racist policies. That's just the reality of these two individuals. So yes, when it comes to Joe Biden's major shortcomings, for me, it is always going to be that crime bill, and it's something that is unforgivable to me. And I don't care who has a problem with that. If you want to, like, again, I said this on the last episode, but if Joe Biden loses this election and Donald Trump wins, I hope you blame me. I hope you blame other people like me, who all the voices out there who tell people stop voting for bad and worse. I hope you blame me, because that's actually going to force the Democratic Party to put somebody out there that's worth fucking voting for, or they're going to keep losing. Because if they don't, that's just what's going to happen. If the Democratic Party don't put somebody out there worth voting for, they're going to keep losing. And it's going to be people like me who's going to keep pushing that fucking narrative. That if you see a choice between bad and worse, tell them to go fuck theyself. Because we're not going for it anymore. And Joe Biden is part of that same group that I'm going to tell everybody to go fuck theyself. I'm not voting for him, and I'm not going to tell anybody else to go vote for him. And when it comes to Donald Trump's shortcomings, is always just going to be his overt racism, like you see in this clip.
Extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
willing to do
specifically
that,
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
Stand back and stand by. Stand back and stand by. It is stuff like this that will always be Trump's downfall. It is not that hard to disavow white supremacy. It is not that hard. Even if that's like, even if you don't even agree with it, like, it's not that hard.
It is stupid that he said that. It's stupid, but the question was framed that way. The question was framed, were you willing to tell them to stand down?
Yeah, that is what he said. And that is the way it was posed. But again, Donald Trump's not that big. Like, he knows what he's trying to get him to ask. Mm-hmm. He knows what he's asking him to do. And he made sure he stand back and stand by. Like, he knows what he's doing, you know? Mm-hmm. He knows that is his base. Donald Trump absolutely knows that overt racists are his base. And since the beginning of his the beginning before he even got elected, that is always the crowd that he's pandered to. And for a long time, that's always the crowd the whole entire Republican Party has pandered to. Overt racism. You know, it's not that I wouldn't go as far to say every Republican is a racist. But if you're racist, you're probably a Republican. You know? And that is always going to be Donald Trump's shortcomings. His biggest downfall is that he refuses. He is a racist. I wouldn't go as far to say he's overt racist. I like to think he likes to play this ambiguous racist. But he sure panders to the overt and real racists out there. And that is always going to be his shortcomings. He is something he has refused to do time and time again, over and over again, you know. And that's always going to be his downfall. It doesn't come as a surprise. It's like, again, it's something that he's done over and over again. And it's something I'm sure that he's going to continue to do. That's why when I say bad and worse, I mean, that's really the only way I see it. There's no other two ways about it, you know?
So next debate, what has to change in order for your narrative to change about either or?
Literally all Joe Biden has to do, or any of them, honestly, either one of them, if either one of them just say, they'll what's it called? And decriminalize marijuana. It's an easy one. Medicare for all. It's not that easy of a one to say, but that's always, that's one. And economic support for the working class. One of those three. You don't even have to give all three. Either one of them. And Donald Trump is more of a populist than Joe Biden. So if it comes to any type of economical support, I I would assume that Donald Trump would be the first one to do something like that. I don't see Joe Biden doing that. He's somebody who's attacked Medicare. He's attacked veteran benefits. He's attacked Social Security. He's somebody who's always trying to tear down the kind of social net that protects people from getting so far at the bottom. You know, Joe Biden has always gone after those things. And I don't want to say it's unfair, but I mean, it is. Joe Biden has 47 years of terrible policy to attack, which is very easy for somebody like Donald Trump to come in and to harp on, and somebody like me to come in and talk about. He has a long track record. Joe Biden has a very long track record of being terrible, you know. And Donald Trump doesn't exactly have that. This is his first time in politics, and he's a fucking president. So he doesn't have that. And honestly, even if they're lying about it, it's not that hard just to say things. Just like Donald Trump when it comes to disavowing white supremacy. Like, it's not that, even if you don't disavow white supremacy, it's not that hard just to fucking say it. You know? It's not that hard. Even the white supremacists out there would be like, yeah, he probably had to answer it that way. You know what I mean? Like, they'll understand, you know? Like, but his refusal, so to me, his refusal to say it just shows you exactly who he caters, his message mainly caters to, you know? And again, either one of those three things, you know, you decriminalize marijuana, one, you put forth some type of populist economic movement that'll help the working class people of this country, raise the minimum wage and give people actually provide the people with a light at the end of the tunnel, so they're not just working job to job, paying rent and living the rest of their lives just, you know, on the hamster wheel, you know, provide them with health care. Simple things. Invest in your population. Simple things, to be honest. Very simple things. And the fact that they won't even play to it in front of the cameras, like they won't even pretend to care, is really the part that, besides all the theatrics from the debate, the fact that they both won't even pretend to care. Joe Biden won't even pretend to care about the well-being of the American people. Donald Trump's not even going to pretend to care about the well-being and the health of the American people. That is the future of this country, you know? And if Joe Biden losing again actually makes the Democratic Party have to be a real opposition and put somebody up there who's worth voting for, who'd actually bring actual change, then that's what I'm willing to do. Because we know what Joe Biden's offering, and that's nothing. You know, that's nothing. You know, to be honest, if we were, when COVID hit and everybody lost their jobs and Joe Biden was in office, do I think he would have provided everybody? I don't even think he would have gave the $1,200 checks to people. I really don't. I really don't. I doubt it. I think I could see Joe Biden putting in some extended benefits for unemployment, but as far as just handing people checks and money, Democrats have this like PTSD when it comes to like the notion that they're socialists. So anything that they would do in that type of direction, whether it be giving the people health care or money, that seems to be anyway some type of socialist thing to do, they're scared of it because they don't want to be labeled socialist, because they have this like deep-rooted fear of it, you know, that they're just going to be labeled these radical socialists. When, you know, almost every modern country in this world provides their citizens with health care at a minimum, you know. Joe Biden, you take him and his policies anywhere around the world, he'd be hardcore right wing, you know, hardcore. And only in America is this make him and Kamala Harris considered a fucking Democrat. It makes no sense, you know. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. A lot of work went into it. I'm sorry it took me so long to get it to you guys. I wish I could have got to you sooner. But it's here. It's going to be up for you guys. Just in case you missed today's live episode, it will be up tomorrow on YouTube. So make sure you go to the YouTube page, subscribe. It's the Issue Live on everything. Issue Live on Instagram, the Issue Live on Twitter, the Issue Live on YouTube. And until then, hey everybody, stay out of trouble, kids. We'll see you.